Welcome to another painting tutorial. This one we're going to do an Orcs and Goblins special character, Grimgor Ironhide. So this is a metal model. It's now available in Finecast. A couple things to note. I partially followed the old Heavy Metal Masterclass painting guide that was originally published in a white dwarf. But I used the new paints as well. I used a decal from the new Orc Dacajet to do that sort of glyph evil sun sort of thing on the front there. So I'm going to show you all the different paints I used and walk you through the steps. So first off, I gave it apparently a really bad coat of dark brown. So this is just a spray paint that I used as a primer. So I assembled everything and I used pins and green stuff to help put it together, because things like this axe arm here, the chain there, they're going to be a little bit flimsy on a metal model. On the Finecast it might be a little bit better, but they might also be a little brittle. So there's a look at what the model looks like, and ready to go. Really nice, characterful looking thing. The bore may be a little bit dated just because it was done pre the new plastic bores. But anyways, okay. So for base coats, what I've done here is okay. So for the orc flesh is going to be wag flesh. That's just your basic orc base coat. I've got Steel Legion brown here that I'm going to do for the leather bits. I've got lead belcher there for the silver. For the main part of the fur there, I believe. Oh, what did I use? I used. See the dark one, that's Mornfang, so it's a bit of a reddish brown, and then in here I used Rhinox hide. So I got a couple different browns going on there, and hopefully they'll help contrast each other. Looking at the other side, base coated black on some of this stuff here, so this armor is going to be kind of a black color, and yeah, that's my base coats. Adding a couple more colors here, so the yellow is Averland Sunset. And for this, for the bone stuff, that's Zandri Dust. Okay, so we're basically done all the base colors there, and now it's time for some washes. So the reds there are going to get Coborg Crimson. These browns here, those are all going to have. Which one did I do for that? I think I used the Agrax Earthshade for all of that. So all the different browns got the same wash. I don't think it's actually on that. Yeah, there's a bit of a wash there. And for all these, that's just the Seraphim Sepia. Okay, so for the skin here, that got the Bealtan Green, and it's going to get Warboss Green and Skarsnik Green highlights. And you can see that sort of coming together. For all of this reddish brown here, that's the Mornfang brown highlighted with Scrag brown, and then it's going to have Deathclaw brown sort of edge kind of details. And you can see in here that Rhinox, actually that's Dryad Bark, that dark one. Sorry, my mistake. Dryad Bark, and then Gorthor brown and Baneblade brown highlights. And there you can see there. And actually, now that I think about it, if that's Dryad Bark, then this one here is Rhinox hide. Okay, I used the same leather colors for the ropes there. So that's the Steel Legion brown, followed by Teleran sand and crack stone. Working on some of the red highlights here. You can see it maybe a bit better there. So that's the Evil Sun Scarlet, and then edge highlights going to be Wild Rider Red. So just around the edges there. So the Evil Suns kind of gets the whole surface area, and then minus the parts that were shaded, and then the edge highlights is just around the edges, just to bring the sharpness out. And there you can see the reds there. So this fur here was all the same as that fur. So I kind of keep things similar looking. And you can see the greens there highlighted. Not a lot of flesh on this model, but there you go. Okay, so this, that, like I mentioned, that was the Teleran sand and crack stone. Okay, so for the axe here, I did a bit of a checker pattern on there. So that's just your basic blacks. The whites aren't really white. What I do is I use lots of grays there. So that would be like a Celestia gray and Uthin gray with maybe a little white scar edge highlight. For all the black armor here, I'm just doing some of the grays there. So I'm using a dirty black. So I start with a Baden black, and then get Skaven Blight, Dinge, and Storm Vermin for just the edges. So it's actually dark browns that you're using there. This here ended up getting the same colors as the fur, but done sort of in a different technique. So that's the Gothor brown and Baneblade brown sort of lines. And then I'm going to use something like Ungor Flesh or the Karak Stone or Screaming Skull for the line highlights at the top. And you can see I'm doing some of the bone detail on the teeth there, and here I am starting to line in there. So that's Xandri dust, it looks like, actually. So spend a bunch of time on these trying to help it blend it in a bit. Here's the decal now. So I'm basically done with this. Just to mention, I use Cassandora yellow wash, and then Yariel yellow highlight, and Flashkits yellow for the edges. Then what I did is I put a clear coat on there, so just a gloss finish. If you have the GW one, that's the Ard coat, which is like a glossy finish. Then I used some of the Decal set solutions. So what you do is you put the solution on there, and the decal helps conform to that. I get a little bit of a wrinkle there, but what that does is it helps pull it in, and then once it's all dry, you give it a coat of the medium, the clear matte medium. I forget what the new GW one is, but I use the Heavy Metal one that I got from the kit there. And that's basically it. So I used some of the reds there, various browns on this. For the base there, I used the Castellian green, Lorien forest, and Strachan green for the moss type stuff. And the stone there, I used where is it here? Mechanis Standard Gray, Dawnstone, and Administrarium Gray, just for the highlights there. So this guy's going to be a cool addition to my army. I've got lots of boar boys that he can upgrade, and yeah, pretty cool centerpiece, really dynamic model, fun to paint up. So using the new GW paints, it's kind of like the Reaper Triads. At the very back of the book, the How to Paint book, there's sort of 2 pages that show you all the different combinations. Obviously you can make up your own, but it really helps speed things up. You can just pick a color, and you know, you kind of set that as your color for your whole army, and you're good to go forward. I didn't mention that, but that would be the same grays as the armor there, and just the metal. It got a wash of Newland oil and Agrax Earthshade, and then highlighted up with Ironbreaker and just some edge highlights with Runefang Steel. And yeah, that decal there is from the new Orc Dakajet kit. Some really nice decals there. It's not got a ton of detail on it, but enough for my purposes. There you can see it there. Turned out really nice against that yellow. Some other details. Sorry about these pictures. I've since I've changed my photo booth setup, and so it's not quite as good as it used to be for taking pictures, but that's just temporary. Hopefully I'll have that back to normal soon. And lots of skulls there. Oh, for the inside of those wooden things, I used I think it's Ratskin Flesh, Bestigor Flesh, and Ungor Flesh. So it's kind of a flesh tones, but just to contrast the outside of the wood. Hope you like that. Check out my other videos and my blog. It's like watching paintdry.blogspot.com. There will be a link in the description below to that blog. You can just click on that, and be sure to check out my other videos. See you next time.